The US Air Force used B-2A Spirit stealth bombers to attack Houthi targets in Yemen during the recent campaign against the rebel group, a US official told the War Zone. That campaign began March the 15th with a series of aviation and missile strikes against the Iranian-backed group. The official, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss operational details, declined to say how many of these aircraft were used, how often, or when. The confirmation, however, provides more context about the collection of these jets on Diego Garcia. Recently, a large force of B-2 Spirit bombers and other supporting assets deployed to Diego Garcia. The latest satellite imagery, dated April the 2nd, obtained by the War Zone from Planet Labs archive, shows at least 6 B-2s and 6 KC-135s on the remote island. Stationed at Diego Garcia, a secretive island base, these bombers have struck fortified underground weapon caches controlled by the Iran-backed Houthi rebels who have disrupted shipping in the Red Sea for months. The operation, costing nearly $1 billion in under 3 weeks, aims to degrade the Houthis' ability to threaten international waters, according to a CNN report citing defense officials. Bulgarian military media outlet says that yet, despite the deployment of such high-tech firepower, the impact has been limited, raising questions about the effectiveness of this approach and the broader implications of using a rare, costly aircraft in this conflict. The B-2 Spirit, often called the stealth bomber, is a marvel of American engineering designed to penetrate the most sophisticated air defenses undetected. Built by Northrop Grumman, it first took flight in 1989 and entered service with the US Air Force in 1997. With a distinctive flying wing shape and radar-absorbing materials, the B-2 is nearly invisible to enemy radar, a capability that comes at a steep price. Each plane costs over $2 billion to produce, making it one of the most expensive aircraft ever built. Only 21 were constructed, and today, fewer than 20 remain operational due to a crash in 2008. The bomber's range exceeds 6,000 nautical miles without refueling, extendable to over 10,000 with mid-air refueling, allowing it to strike targets across the globe from bases like Diego Garcia. Its payload is equally impressive, capable of carrying up to 40,000 pounds of ordnance, including conventional bombs and the massive GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, a 30,000-pound weapon designed to destroy deeply buried targets. Recall that Iran is also a target of US B-2 Spirits. Iran and the United States high-stakes talks to reach a new nuclear deal, foreshadowed by President Trump's threat of military strikes as a consequence of failure, and Tehran's warning any attack on it would drag the US into a broader Middle Eastern conflict. Europe is taking Trump's threats to minimize the American military presence on the continent seriously. As Bloomberg reports, citing anonymous European officials, calls are being made from the old world for the US to warn of a possible troop transfer in order to avoid destabilizing NATO's defense in the face of the Russian threat on the alliance's eastern flank. Such concerns are voiced against the backdrop of information that appeared in the media the day before about the withdrawal of a 10,000-strong American contingent from Eastern Europe and the relocation of a US Army unit from the Polish airfield of Jasionka, which is a hub for the delivery of weapons to Ukraine. There are currently about 80,000 US troops in Europe, and since the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, this figure has reached 100,000. Such a contingent is a serious deterrent to Moscow from expanding its aggression to the Baltic countries, Poland and Romania. At a recent NATO foreign ministers meeting in Brussels, European ministers assured US Secretary of State Rubio that their countries are working to strengthen their defense capabilities and will shoulder most of the costs of their own security, which is Trump's demand. At the same time, they asked for advance notice of US military plans. Bloomberg sources also report that the reduction of the US Army in Europe could lead to an escalation of conflicts in the Middle East and Africa. The situation is aggravated by the ambiguity of opinions among European leaders regarding the extent and pace at which they should increase their military spending. Against this backdrop, European diplomats are trying to convince the United States that their presence on the continent projects political power to achieve global stability. The article notes that, according to sources, up to 20,000 American troops may be withdrawn from Europe in the near future to be transferred to the Pacific region to contain China. In such a situation, Russia could launch an attack against European countries at any time. At the same time, there is no unanimity in Washington on this issue. Republican Mike Rogers, chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on the U.S. Congress, warned against a large-scale withdrawal due to possible consequences for U.S. security. Also against such actions is the commander of the U.S. Army in Europe, Chris Cavoli, who said that it would affect missions in the Arctic and the Middle East, and the balance of power should be maintained. Russia's so-called shadow fleet, which it uses to ship its oil in defiance of Western sanctions, is at risk of tougher measures. US senators have introduced a bill in Congress that would allow the confiscation of oil from Russian tankers on the US Treasury Department's sanctions list, Reuters reports. If the bill is passed, the confiscated raw materials will be sold and the proceeds will be used to pay off the US national debt. To improve control over compliance with restrictions, it is proposed to create a special fund under the Ministry of Finance with a budget of $150 million. The document also expands the exchange of intelligence information and provides law enforcement agencies with additional tools to combat illegal oil trading networks, said one of the authors of the project, Johnny Ernst, representing the Republican Party. According to the senator, this bill will not only help counter Moscow's attempts to circumvent American sanctions, but will also give the United States the opportunity to use confiscated assets. The US sanctions list includes 200 vessels transporting Russian oil. The most significant blow to the shadow fleet was dealt in January when the administration of the previous occupant of the White House, Joe Biden, imposed sanctions on 180 tankers. Recall, in the wake of Western sanctions surrounding the Ukraine war, Russia developed a network of clandestine oil tankers to ensure the continuity of its energy exports, the so-called shadow fleet. This system of tanker ships, through various deceptive practices, has been successful in evading international monitoring and restrictions. The vessels, often registered under flags of convenience, are Moscow's primary tool for circumventing the oil price cap and maintaining supply to global energy markets. And despite international efforts to counter such activities, the shadow fleet has significantly expanded, becoming a major revenue source for Russia. In fact, Russia's shadow fleet has been so successful that similar strategies are sure to arise in the future as other states seek to evade sanctions. The Baltic Sea has become a focal point for the operations of the Russian shadow fleet. Approximately 50% of Russian oil exports pass through the region, making it crucial for the Kremlin's activities. In April 2024 alone, the KSE estimates that the shadow tankers linked to Russia transported about 92 million barrels, equivalent to 82% of all Russian exports through the Baltic Sea.